Warpugs, I have a feeling that I'm going to be introduced here to something that I'm going to love. This is Awful Archaeology, Episode 2, the Orontius Finaeus map. Now, I mentioned that I liked old maps during... I don't know what I was checking out at the time, but I mentioned that I liked old maps, and this just seemed to pop up out of nowhere. This is requested by Big E in the Patreon requests, and if you are a Patreon, please reach out to me in Discord so I can get you your proper role. But I love old maps. I think I know what this map actually is. And what it represents. So I can't wait to see what they have to say about it. This is Miniminuteman, and I have never seen anything from this guy ever. I have never seen anything, period, from them. So this may yet be another thing that you guys are introducing me to that I just simply am enthralled by. We're going to jump into this. Now, all of Miniminuteman's links are going to be in the description down below, right next to my own, so check it out. Check out the new merch store, everything like that. I'm actually going to be reaching out to get something new made here soon. But until then, Warpugs, let's jump into it. I'm actually really looking forward to this. Let's go. Awful Archaeology, let's go.
Hello. Welcome back to Awful Archaeology. This is my second time filming this because iPhones suck. Spent 45 minutes filming
Alright.
this entire video this morning, and then the file corrupted. So if I seem extra exasperated in this video, that is why. I didn't even turn on my ring light. Oh yeah, ow. Anyway, welcome back to Awful Archaeology.
My ring light is right up there. And anytime, I just don't turn it off anymore. Because when I turn it back on, I'm hit with the light of a blazing sun directly in the face.
Show where I spin this gigantic wheel, which is completely covered in archaeological-based conspiracy theories, and I talk about whatever it lands on, so that you can hopefully learn something to impress your friends and family with, and you also gain sadistic pleasure from watching me completely destroy my mental health.
There you go.
Already have probably had spoiled for you by the title and the fact that I said what I was going to do at the end of last video, today we are going to be talking about the Orontius Finaeus map, as has been decreed by the Wheel of Perpetual Torment. But what kind of video would it be if I didn't give you an
introduction? Let's go.
Old maps suck. They frequently show inconsistencies from modern maps that are derived from errors that occur when you try and map an entire planet using a pencil. Many of the times, these errors are just cause for a good laugh, if nothing else. Like this map, which shows California as an island, which is... wrong. Or this map, which shows the non-existent Appalachian Lake. How you accidentally find an entire lake that doesn't exist, I could not tell you. Or this map, which shows the Zambezi River as a circle, which is more akin to a theme park ride than an actual river. Many of the errors on these antique maps are about as credible as this, which I created when I was 10 years old. And it has such features as a town called Foot and a city called Yahoo, Bone Desert. The map key is pretty great. Not only is key spelled wrong, but the different types of states are old state, new state, war state, cool state, and stupid state.
Stupid states. We definitely need more stupid states to match our own. Let's go.
The wet sea.
The wet sea.
That's a fucking weird kid. And now I'm a weird adult. Funny how that happens.
It really does. It sneaks up on you out of nowhere. You just wind up one day just looking into the mirror and going, what the hell happened to me?
Merch idea. This map on a wall poster. Drop a comment if you'd buy that. If you say you wouldn't buy it, I know you're a damn liar because this is awesome. And of course, more maps than you can count with islands that either don't exist or are on the map twice or 3 times.
Okay.
Or hell, even 4 times. With the advent of modern satellite technology, arguing that any of these errors are founded in reality is an egregious claim at best. However, conspiracy theorists today will continue to cite these outdated and erroneous maps to perpetuate the existence of everything from ice-free poles to entirely lost continents. This particular map has been cited by pseudo-archaeologists like Graham Hancock and the other guy whose name I forget because I'm not looking at my script, Graham Hancock and Charles Hapgood, to
Oh, okay. So he's a critic of Graham Hancock. Graham Hancock never called himself an archaeologist, but at the same time, he did put forth some really wild ideas. Like, if you don't know, the movie 2012, I think it's 2012. Is it 2012? Yeah, it's 2012. Was based off something he did in a book called, it was Chariots of the Gods, I think. And that was Earth crust displacement theory. But while he does have some wild ideas, while he does have some really wild ideas, I'm not even going to lie, some of the things that he, like, I first became aware of Graham Hancock through Joe Rogan. And, yeah, hearing him talk, you sit there and like, okay, okay. He's one of those kinds of people that sits there and puts forward evidence, but there's a lot of stuff that you could sit there and say against it. So it's either one way or another way. Now, me personally, I think that there's a lot of history that is just not explained. We're either, not digging in the right spot, which, to be perfectly honest, if one of the things that Graham Hancock said that actually fascinated me was the concept of a pre-Ice Age civilization, which, honestly, if you were going to be looking for any kind of pre-Ice Age civilization, most civilizations really start at the mouths of rivers next to the coast. Where are the coasts? 400 feet underwater. If you were looking at Ice Age times versus now, they're all the way underwater. So here's the problem. And it sucks because we may one day be able to research this kind of stuff. Maybe one day. But it's not going to be anytime soon. And the thing that really sucks about it is if there is any evidence of something like that out there, if there is any evidence of any stuff like that out there, it's been under the ocean for 10,000 years. There's not going to be much left. There's not going to be much of anything left. So, Graham Hancock's big stick is that there was a pre-Ice Age civilization. Could he be right? Maybe. Could he be wrong? Maybe. There's no real way to tell because, as I just said, 90% of the not even 90, like almost any of the evidence that you'd be looking to find is at the bottom of the ocean right now because of the withdrawal, because of the way that the ocean levels rose at the end of the Ice Age. And that sucks because I love the idea of us further expanding human history back. Göbekli Tepe for me was like this really like cool, amazing. And if you've never heard of Göbekli Tepe, I recommend you check it out. It is absolutely cool because these people were doing these things 10,000 plus years ago. And it's crazy. It's absolutely nuts. Rant off. Rant over.
Argue that the South Pole had not only been known about and mapped for hundreds if not thousands of years longer than we've been taught, but also that at some point within this time span it was ice-free. I don't know why I said that like that. That was disturbing.
If Antarctica was ice-free, that would have created a lot of problems. I'm just going to say it.
It was ice-free. In the case of Hapgood, this manifested in him coming up with his cataclysmic pole shift hypothesis, which frankly I don't want to know anything about Charles Hapgood's pole or why it shifts. And recently, this map has been used by my favorite demographic of people, pseudo-archaeological climate change deniers. And they use this map to claim that because it shows Antarctica with no ice on it, that anthropogenic climate change must not be real. This demographic of people can easily be identified. Not only do they use this map to argue that anthropogenic climate change isn't real, but each and every one of them has an easily identifiable band of wool pulled over their eyes and their heads shoved firmly up their ass. But in order to understand these
Now that's difficult to do. That requires a lot of flexibility, training, and time. So I wouldn't be so quick to dismiss them because if you can get... Okay, enough of that. I'm getting off of that shtick right now. Now, man-made climate change isn't even really a like, whenever people start talking about climate deniers, the first thing that pops into my head is, okay, if you are unaware of the fact that the climate of the earth has changed multiple times in drastic ways over the past million years, if you don't know this, damn. Secondly, like, I really want to find out what happened at the end of the, like, what happened, because, okay, once again, I'm ranting, because I love this kind of stuff. I'd love to talk to this guy and hear his opinions on some of this stuff, because a broken clock is right 2 times a day, okay? A broken clock is right 2 times a day. I would love to see what happened at the end of the Younger Dryas and other elements where we see these massive, huge fluctuations of seawater and climate change that happen so quickly. I would love to see what actually happened. I'd love to hear other theories on it, because the bad thing about it is there's not many theories on what brought the Ice Age to such an abrupt end. There's really not, at least not that I've heard of. Now, does that mean they don't exist? No, because I'm an idiot and I'm a boomer and I forget things. But at the same token, this map right here, first off, and if Antarctica was ice-free, that would cause so many problems that you couldn't even begin to fathom. Secondly, one of the things that Randall Carton called, Graham Hancock says is that, well, he's a proponent of is, and he never really nails it down. That's the problem I have with him. If you're going to like throw something out there hard. Like, I'm not sitting here saying anything. I just think it would be cool if we found out. I think I would be fascinated if we found out something like some sort of like Fertile Crescent like civilization that was around and kicking 20,000 years ago. Are you kidding me? That would be so unrelentingly cool. Are we gonna find it? Probably not. It's just not going to happen. But at the same time, he's making all these suppositions about, these people had advanced knowledge of the sea, this, that. Okay. Aside from a couple of like anecdotal things, it's not really showing me that much. I'm just saying. I need more proof. I need to actually see the thing. Now, this map he's going to explain the origin of in detail. I know about this map, but if you don't, okay, rant off. I've been ranting too much. I've only gotten 3.5 minutes into this. God, this is another thing I'm going to love. Here we go.
Outlandish claims, we must have a look at the Orontius Finaeus map, which was a map that was created by Orontius Finaeus was born in 1494 to a French family who lived in France. Orontius Finaeus. I don't know why I had the Italian hand gesture carried over a little bit. Orontius Finaeus.
There you go.
He was born to a multi-generational family of doctors and physicians. He obtained a college education and a degree in medicine, and much of his later years was spent in academic writing, primarily concerning things like math and other boring stuff. But he did have a particular interest in astronomy, to the point where he was actually arrested for teaching judicial astronomy. He would even go on to publish an astronomy textbook entitled On Heavenly Spheres. It is unclear whether or not this name came from him studying celestial bodies, or from a failed pickup line attempt at his local bar.
Probably both. Let's not kid ourselves.
Baby, my name is Orontius Finaeus. I wrote this book, but I would like to see your heavenly spheres. And just like that, I have alienated all 3 of my French viewers. But
Congratulations. You'll pick up a few more.
Undoubtedly, the greatest lasting legacy of Finaeus are his maps. Living at the intersection where the Old World and the New World met, Finaeus quite literally saw the blank edges of the map being filled in. And in 1531, he would go on to produce this, the Carte of Orontius Finaeus. which for those of you wondering is the Latinized version of his name. Why he did this? He was incredibly pretentious. Sorry, I mean French. This map, like many other Atlas-style maps of the time, was created by combining the works of multiple different cartographers to create what can only be described as a masterpiece. By using this process, it was possible for the map maker to create not only a larger span of the world, but also iron out inconsistencies that may have carried over in a handful of the maps. It was pretty much peer reviewing the maps and using the scientific process to get rid of inconsistencies. And while this process could result in more accurate maps, it was also possible that this process could result in some pretty enormous errors. And in the case of this map, an error manifested itself in the form of a heavily debated mysterious continent known as...
That's a long-ass name. Okay.
At first glance, this map appears to show what is a fairly believable map of Antarctica. The general shape looks correct to the layman, and the position of the latitudinal lines even depict it as being on the bottom of the planet. Pseudoscientists who read into it more go on to validate these claims even further, claiming that features such as the Ross and Weddell Seas, Maudland and Mary Bird Land are not only present, but shown at their correct longitude. So why don't we have a little look at what some of these conspiracy theorists have to say? Like the fact that my phone is plugged in right now? I'm like a giant extension cord with legs.
I understand. I understand your pain. Continue, good sir. Continue.
Have a look at this one from the Daily Journalist. The Orontius Finaeus map, Antarctica ice-free. Here is a summary of some of the most unusual findings about...
Again! If Antarctica was ice-free, there'd be so many frickin' problems.
The map. Scrutiny of the map shows that the makers knew the accurate circumference of the Earth to within 50 miles. The coastline and islands that are shown in Antarctica must have been navigated at some point prior to 4000 BC. Oh, he goes on to talk about the Perry-Reese map, which is... weird. That's also on the Wheel of Pain, but I haven't gotten to it yet. In 1959, in the Library of Congress, Hapgood noticed a presumably authentic map that instantly wiped out his doubt. Even to the most skeptical, the Orontius Finaeus map is startling. Boo! Although it was printed to a book in 1531, and was thus not subject to subsequent amendment, it is remarkably similar to today's maps of Antarctica. Is it, though?
If you flip it, maybe, doubtfully. I mean, it's not as... I mean, to be honest, if you're looking at it, I mean, it's not nearly as cracked as other examples like the island of California or whatever the hell the inland map of the North America was.
Admittedly, it is too close to the tip of South America, and it's incorrectly oriented. Yet the proportions seem similar. The coastal...
So that's something I didn't have there, orientation. So orientation is completely jacked. Continue, good sir.
Mountains found in the 1957 geophysical study are in roughly the right places, and so are many great bays and rivers. Furthermore, the shape of South America seems right, and the close resemblance between the modern, scientifically exact maps of the Ross Sea and Phineas's unnamed Gulf is striking. Hapgood's work cannot simply be lumped with the lunatic fringe, although unquestionably an amateur theoretician, he did do his homework and had it thoroughly checked by professionals. The U.S. Air Force SAC cartographers, for example, worked with him for 2 years and fully endorsed his conclusions about Antarctica. Ah yes, because there's no one I trust more than the U.S. government. Let's have a look at...
Working 2 years for the Air Force. That's not really a boast, bro.
Some modern climate change deniers and what they have to say.
That would absolutely scare me if I had to work 2 years with the Air Force. I think I'd lose my mind because I was in the Navy for 6 years. I'd be like just watching them eat lobster every day while I'm eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich if I get that lucky. Give me a break, guys.
About this map. Ah, here we are. Explorer's Web. Ancient Antarctic map challenges man-made global warming theory.
No, it doesn't.
Really is going to be the death of me. An ancient map that was drawn in 1531 by French cartographer Orontius Finaeus shows the globe from the perspective of the South Pole and the North Pole. Bolded, theory of man-made global warming. In an article written by Professor Alan Quist of Minnesota, he said that the ancient map of the globe drawn by Orontius Finaeus disproves the theory of man-made global warming. For those
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
Those of you wondering who Alan Quist is, just did a quick little search here. Alan Quist is a Minnesota politician, a former state representative, and two-time candidate for governor of the state. But he has suggested that dinosaurs lived alongside humans as recently as the 12th century, and he believes that abortion should be a first-degree homicide. Quist campaigned against the advent of same-sex marriage in Minnesota. He led efforts against extending human rights protections to gays and lesbians, and supported former Governor Arnie Carlson. Quist also led the sponsorship of a failed bill to require AIDS testing for all marriage license applicants. Quist has drawn criticism from a past statement he made suggesting that supporting a gay counseling center at the Minnesota State University would be similar to supporting one for the Ku Klux Klan, and saying that, quote, its presence suggests university approval for the homosexual lifestyle and the practice of sodomy. You
Why can't people just leave each other the hell alone? Like, seriously. I was raised in the 90s. We were told, don't even ask. It doesn't matter. Who cares? That was the whole thing with us. We were told not to ask. Because it shouldn't matter. Can't people leave each other the hell alone?
Wouldn't have a center for the KKK. And that quote, oh my god.
I can't even get into the whole Klan argument there. I can't even get into that. This is stupid.
I don't even want a soundbite of myself saying this out loud. So to make very clear, I'm quoting Alan Quist on this one, and that, quote, both would be breeding grounds for evil. AIDS, in this case. So just to go back to our initial point, in this article written by Professor Alan Quist of Minnesota, he said this ancient map of the globe drawn by Orontius Finaeus disproves the theory of man-made climate change. I thought you just needed a little bit of background on who this guy is so you know how credible he is. Holy fuck. God, this got my blood pressure going. The enormous significance of the map has now become apparent as Congress considers sweeping legislation intended to combat global warming, supposedly caused by human activity. Since Antarctica was much warmer when some of the source maps were drawn than it is today.
Okay, so let me go ahead and make my stance on global warming clear to everybody that's involved. Do I believe the CO2 is the big problem? No, I believe particulates are the problem. I believe particulates are a huge problem. Also, other greenhouse gases are the problem. Less so much CO2, because CO2 is a much different animal. Okay, CO2 is a much different animal. But particulates from pollution, what we've done to the Pacific Ocean, please get me the hell out of here. We have floating islands of trash in the Pacific. Please, someone tell me.
Today, the theory that man-made carbon dioxide emissions are the primary cause of climate change must be given up. I don't really follow that. If it didn't have ice before, and it has ice now, and the ice is receding, wouldn't that still be proof of climate change? I don't understand what this means. Maybe they'll go on to explain it. Antarctica is shown to be flowing rivers. It's extraordinarily accurate, and we'll get into that.
No, it's not.
In a minute. So much so that modern cartographers are mystified as to how it could have been drawn with such amazing accuracy.
If it's shown the way it should be shown, the whole damn thing is upside down before you even start getting into anything approaching accurate, bruh.
I'm going to be using that soundbite again, I can promise you that. And again, it shows the land with no ice and accurate topography, which was only mapped in 1958 when the first seismic survey was done. Oh.
Excuse me?
They don't go on to explain how this debunks climate change. Who would have thought that these people had no idea what they're talking about? Okay, let's get back on track here now that we know the kinds of people that we're arguing with. Now, the general gist of these...
Dude, don't argue with stupid people. Don't argue with fucking stupid people. Don't.
Claims seems fairly convincing on paper and to...
If you took this and flipped it upside down, then you could tell me something, but I'm just saying.
Those of us who don't have a map of Antarctica memorized. But under a more critical lens, these claims fall apart faster than a crunchy Nature Valley bar in the hands of a ravenous toddler. These particular...
Don't talk shit about crunchy Nature Valley roars, okay? I survived off them for like 3 years.
Claims which were perpetuated by Hapgood were analyzed further by Keith Fitzpatrick Matthews. Fitzpatrick Matthews found that in order to reach the same conclusion that Hapgood had, one would have to jump to an inconceivable amount of conclusions, including, comedically, editing the map. Here's a little list of all the things Hapgood would have to manipulate in order to prove that his claim was real. He would
Turn the damn thing.
have to rotate Terra Australis by 20 degrees, which is a lot. You would have to move the South Pole by 7.5 degrees or 1,600 kilometers. You would also have to scale down the entire continent by 230%, which for those among me who are terrible at math, means that this continent is more than twice the size of the South Pole. You would also have to reshuffle enormous chunks of the coastline, and he overlooked the complete negation of the Antarctic Peninsula, which is like the most recognizable part of Antarctica. And if they had mapped...
Is it? Maybe to you. Maybe to you, but then again, when's the last time I ever looked at Antarctica? For real, though.
all the way up to South America, they probably would have mapped this part too, despite showing mainland South America touching the continent. Such amazing accuracy! What Hapgood did to come to this conclusion is similar to being presented with a Rorschach test, being asked to describe what you see, and then just flipping it over and just drawing whatever you want on the back. When taking all of this into account, it is clear that this map does not depict Antarctica nearly as clearly as conspiracy theorists would like you to believe. So now that we know what Terra Australis isn't, let's talk about... Firstly, let's have a look at one of the most prominent features of Antarctica, the Antarctic Peninsula. Or rather, let's not have a look at it, because it's not there. Either way, this is where it should be. Hapgood claims that the reason that this feature is not there is because Finaeus ran out of room, and so he just omitted the entire peninsula to make room for South America. Now, map makers at the time weren't exactly in the business of just deleting entire discoveries, which is why sometimes there will be maps that I've mentioned earlier where you will get the same island or the same feature mapped out multiple times in different places.
Hold on. Continue, good sir.
So allow me to propose another explanation. Yeah, this is the fun part. I was looking forward to this. Let's go. We know that South America and Antarctica are about 650 miles apart, which is clearly not depicted here, which leads me to believe that what you are looking at here is not the coastline of Antarctica, but the northern coast of Terra del Fuego. The gap between Terra del Fuego and mainland South America is not the 600 miles that you would expect to see between South America and Antarctica. It is instead the 20-mile wide Strait of Magellan, which would seem a lot more accurate to what we're looking at on this map. Not to mention the fact that the coastline lines up with the shape of the top of Terra del Fuego fairly accurately. At this time, explorers had been up and down the coast of South America, and it had been mapped fairly decently. But there were still some parts that hadn't been fully filled in yet, and it is very likely that the maps that Finaeus was pulling from did not have an accurate map of Terra del Fuego, and instead just showed the coastline that they had seen from the mainland or from the Strait of Magellan. Now, if we move to the northeast, we can see the Horn of South Africa, as well as the island of Madagascar, both of which are in a fairly appropriate relation to one another, both in shape, size, and distance across the Mozambique Channel. But the observant of you have noticed a second island on this map, which sort of throws the train of continuity off the tracks. A small heart-shaped island off the southeast coast of Madagascar, which is labeled Zanzibar. Though
Zanzibar! I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that. I really shouldn't have done that.
This is clearly an error, as the island of Zanzibar is nearly 800 miles to the northwest of Madagascar, and separated from mainland Tanzania by only 25 miles across the Zanzibar Channel. Perhaps this is a mislabeling of the islands of Reunion or Mauritius, or even a mislabeling of the French southern Antarctic islands.
I've been to Mauritius. It's nice. Once you get away from the resort. I've also been to Seychelles. Again, it's nice. Once you get away from the resort.
But due to the fact that Zanzibar was fairly well known about at this point, I would imagine that this is just an error in placing the tiny island. And imagine here the concern was just including the right locations and less concerned about placing them in relation to this unknown continent. In fact, I think that this portion of Terra Australis was almost entirely inferred and never actually mapped, because it's pretty much just a straight line with no discernible features. Kind of just like procedural terrain generation. And now for the final piece of evidence before I hit the grand slam and blow your mind. If you direct your eyes rise to the top of the map, you will see a scattering of islands. Thankfully for us, these islands are labeled. We can clearly see not only the islands of Java, but also the island of Timor. And what is directly south of the islands of Java and Timor? Australia. This part of the map is, almost without a doubt, the northern coast of Australia, depicting the Carpentaria Gulf. In fact, this map even includes the two islands that are in the Gulf, with Mornington Island in the south and Groot Island in the northwest. Put all your I am Groot jokes in the comments with everyone else, you filthy animal.
Now, so let me explain where Graham Hancock said this came from. He said this came from older maps that had been drawn from various locations that had been compiled into a single map displaying this. And that's what he was saying. I'm so glad I don't buy shit.
Peninsula, which myself, as well as many of you, may have thought was supposed to be the Antarctic Peninsula, and is here labeled as Regiopetalus, is actually the Cape York Peninsula. So why is this continent 230% larger than Antarctica? And why does it come so close to South Africa? And why is the South Pole shown as being right in the center of it? Because, you ready for this? Because this map shows a gigantic inference stretching 8,000 miles under the bottom of the planet from Australia to Argentina and entirely encircling Antarctica. Boom. Thank you. I'm here all week. There is not a single piece of this conspiracy which cannot be explained with this explanation. Why is it shown as being ice-free? Because the parts of land that they could see didn't have ice on them. Why are the rest of the distances on the map so accurate? Because it was a really accurately done map. They just inferred a huge portion of it. How did they manage to mess up where Zanzibar is? Because the person who made it was French. It's important to look at conspiracy.
It checks out. It's an old meme, but it checks out. Let's go.
Conspiracies like this with some scrutiny. I mean, it's important to look at any conspiracy with some scrutiny. But if someone is trying to tell you that a map from 500 years ago can tell you more than we know today with modern science, they are completely and utterly full of shit. Before I let you go, let's have a look as to what next episode is going to be on. Spin that wheel, Big Papa.
Yeah.
Nice. I'm spinning this wheel in post, so I actually have no idea what my next video is going to be on. If you guys like this episode, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification button so you can be aware when the next video comes out. With these videos, I try to do live premieres so I can be there with you guys and we can all watch the video for the first time together. So if you did watch the premiere of this video, thank you. It was wonderful having you. And if that's something you'd be interested in the future, I look forward to seeing you next time. I'd like to thank my patrons for making this video possible. My patrons get early ad-free access to my videos, and in the future, they're going to be getting blooper reels as well because I mess up a lot when I make these videos.
I do too, but I mess up so many times that if I sit there and took the mess ups and separated them anymore, literally I would be uploading 20 gigs every time I did a lore video. It gets agonizing. I lose my voice. My vocal cords bleed.
If you are one of my patrons, your names will be in the credits at the end, so make sure to stick around for that one. And remember to stay curious, stay inquisitive, and most importantly, remember that the next time you do something terrible and think you're gonna burn in hell forever, at least you're not Alan Quist.
Okay, so I'd love to talk to this guy. Flat out, okay? I'd love to talk to this guy. I have a whole bunch of stuff that I legitimately pull from everywhere. I try my best to pull from everywhere. I listen for the merits and arguments. I do my best not to listen to really ridiculous stuff. If something doesn't make sense to me, if you're trying to convince me of the correctness of your thought, you better be coming packing. So, I have a lot of faith in science. I have a lot of faith in this kind of stuff. I think we focus as far as Miniminuteman in his talk about global warming. I've always been of the opinion that we focus so much on carbon dioxide, we miss literally everything else. Because anybody that says anything else anybody that says anything to the contrary, it becomes a single point argument and a multifaceted thing. I'm always more concerned about particulates than anything else. I'm more concerned about particulates. I'm more concerned about methane, all this other kind of shit. And if you don't think that people have caused a good amount of damage to this planet, there are pictures from the Amazon where they have cultivated the land, and it is so disturbing to see, where they have cultivated certain types of trees that we use a lot in manufacture and for some of the chemical compounds they have, and then right next to that is the naked Amazon forest, and it's so utterly creepy because you have trees upon trees and lines and rows, and then you have actual rainforest. It is utterly disturbing to look at. There's, I talked about the literal ocean of plastic that we have out there right now. We're doing a lot. Okay? Now, does climate change occur naturally? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Are we in a really good period to be alive right now where we can actually affect something of it? Yes, we can. But there's always a nugget of me that likes to reach for the fantastical. But every single time I reach out for the fantastical, I want to make sure I'm grounded in reality. That's why when Graham Hancock talks, and I've actually read both of his books. And when some of the things he talks about is okay, but at the same time, you don't know if he's got the full story or not. When you look at the Sphinx itself, I mean, one of the things about the Sphinx is just when you look at the Sphinx, I've always wondered what is the real story here, because it doesn't look like wind erosion to me on the Sphinx. It doesn't look like it. Am I an expert? No damn way. Robert Schoch is. But with all that being said, I've always been fascinated about the idea of a culture that came before. And that's Graham Hancock's big shtick. That's his big shtick. The culture that came before the Ice Age. God, I wish we had the ability to research if that was a thing or not. I really do. But until I win the lottery and make a few $1 billion and can make myself a submarine, paint it yellow, and say we all live on a yellow submarine and travel 400 feet beneath the waves, the chances of us finding something related to a pre-Ice Age civilization are next to nothing. And even if I did, the damned odds don't go up much further past that, because 400 feet of fucking water. Okay? It's just one of those things that we're probably never going to know about. And that's sad. And that sucks. We'll probably figure out a way to colonize the solar system before we do that. And speaking of which, it's because of people like, not even going to go into it. I would love to talk to this guy though, because I always like talking to people that know more than I do about a given subject. Like one of my good friends, one of my best friends, he knows so stupid much about tanks and planes and all this other kind of stuff. He can identify, he can look at a show and be like, yeah, that wouldn't have been there though because, this and that. And I'm sitting there like, how do you know this? And at the same time, you hear me talk about certain subjects, I can just go off for hours about them, especially like things that I'm directly interested in. But all that being said, this was fascinating. This is going to be something that I really enjoy taking a look at. Guys, if you enjoyed this, leave a comment below. Like, subscribe. all that other kind of good stuff. Minuteman, like I said, all of his links are in the description down below, right next to my own. Go by there, check out the Patreon. Yeah, I'm done. I will catch you guys next time. And eventually, I want to get a green screen. I don't know what kind of thing he has up there. He's probably got a green screen. Looks like it. But I want to get a green screen because that's what I want to do for the because I script it way too damn much. I'll catch you guys next time.